Okay, so this is where we were when we got cut off. So we are going to talk about the different words that we can use for adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. So for adding, we can use words like sum, or all, or add. Okay, for subtraction, we could say minus, or difference, or subtract. For multiplication, we could use words like we could use words like product or multiply or times. And for divide, we could do quotient or divide. Let's see, are there any others that I want to think about for sum? More, plus, ooh, increase, that's a good one. Which means for subtraction, we would also need decrease, difference. Oh, I said difference. Oh, less. Okay, so those are some of the words that we can use when we're talking about expressions. So, when we're talking about expressions, we mean like 2 plus 2 is an expression because there is no equal sign. Okay, so 2 plus 2 is an expression because there's no equals. Okay, but 2 plus 2 equals 4 is an equation because there is an equal sign. Okay? So that's the difference. When we talk about expressions, we mean 2 plus 2 because there's no equals. Okay? There's none of that. But 2 plus 2 equals 4 is an equation because there's an equal sign. So what we're going to talk about first are the numerical forms of an equation, or an expression, excuse me. So the number, that's not a hashtag, that's a number sign. This is the numerical form we're going to put on this side of our paper. Make a little T-chart here. And then on the other side, we're going to put word form. So, when we're interpreting expressions, we might have something like 3 times, parentheses, 8 divided by 2. And we want to figure out what this says. So we have 3 times the quotient of 8 and 2. That might be a way to say it. But if we say 3 times the quotient of 8 and 2, then we haven't taken into account the parentheses. So that won't work. Because there are parentheses, I have to take this into account first. So I'm going to say the quotient of 8 and 2 multiplied by 3. This is an expression, which means it is a number sentence. I'm going to do a capital and a period. So because of the parentheses, you have to take that into account. What if I had 8 divided by 2 minus 3? Then I could say 3 less than the quotient of 8 and 2. And I can say 3 less first because it's subtraction, and subtraction always comes after division. What about, let's do another one. Let's do 8 plus 3 times 2. Well, the 8 and 3 come before the multiplication, but in PEMDAS, in order of operations, we have to make sure that we do the multiplication first. So I'm going to say the product, right, because product is multiplication, the product of 3 and 2 increased meaning added, right, increased by 8. What if we try one more with parentheses? Let's bring my book down over here so you can see my other side. We've got our numerical form. And our word form. And we've got 3 times, or excuse me, 8 times, parentheses, 3 plus 2. Well, we have to do our parentheses first. So we're going to say the sum of 3 and 2 multiplied by 8. Because what this tells us is 3 and 2 have to be added together before we multiply. Okay, let's go the other way. Let's go the other way. Let's do, let's see, 6 times the sum of 7 and 3. 6 times, so that's 6 times the sum of 7 and 3. Well, because we're taking 6 times that sum, we will need parentheses before we do the multiplication. So let's do, we're going to do 6 times the sum of 7 and 3. What if we have the sum of 7 and 3 increased by 6? Well, we could do that. So the sum of 7 and 3 increased by 6. And because we go from left to right with our adding, that totally works. We could also do 6 more than the sum of 7 and 3. And if we did it that way, if it was 6 more than the sum of 7 and 3, then we'd probably put our 7 and 3 in parentheses. But if all you're doing is adding, it doesn't matter where you put the numbers, your answer's still going to come out the same. So I'm going to pause my recording a minute and open up our Seesaw activity and use that for a couple of examples. Okay, I ended up here in Seesaw, and we are going to practice dragging these expressions to the appropriate place. So, my first written expression is 4 less than the sum of 7 and 3. That means 7 and 3 have to be added first, and then we're going to take 4 away. So here I've got 7 plus 3. That's happening first, but then I'm multiplying. That's not less. Here I've got 7 divided by 3. Well, that's not what I'm doing because I'm doing a sum. Here I've got sum of 7 and 3, and then I'm taking 4 minus that. Oh, that's what it wants me to do, but this is not actually correct. Let's pull this over here, and let's correct this, because we can't take 4 minus 10, but we can take 10 minus 4. Sorry about that, guys. Sometimes in our assignments, there may be a mistake. Your teachers are human. It happens all the time. All right, this next one says 4 more than the product of 7 and 3. Product being multiplication. So 4 more than the product of 7 and 3. Well, that means I'm going to have a multiplication in between the 7 and 3. Well, that's addition, that's division, there's multiplication, there's multiplication. So this is 4 more than 7 times 3. This is the quotient of 7 times 3 divided by 4. So I'm going to take this one and drag it over. Okay? The next one we have is the product of 7 and 3 divided by 4. Oh, look. Okay, so I hope that you all see where we're going on this drag and drop. The next page is you're going to do a circle to matching expression for each statement for here on the left. And then on the right, you're writing an expression to describe each statement by filling in the correct operation or number. So over here we have the difference between 6 and 11. Well, let's circle. That's the difference between 6 and 11. Okay? Difference being subtraction. And then over here, 5 times the difference between 8 and 6. Okay, so there's your second page. And then the third page, you're writing a numerical expression. So you've got 5 times the difference between 19 and 13. So 5 times the difference between 19 and 13. There's your example. And then down here, interpret the equations. You're going to multiply the sum of 11 and 4 by 3, then add 5. Ooh, toughie. So we're going to add 11 and 4. 11 and 4 first. Then we're going to multiply that times 3, and then we'll add 5. So 11 plus 4 is 15 times 3 plus 5. Then, according to my order of operations, 15 times 3 is 45 plus 5. And my answer is 50. And then I can go on to my next one. Okay? So good luck, my friends. I hope this helps, and I will see you soon.